All right, I think we are live. Hello. Just brainstorming, sewing projects, and all that good stuff. So feel free to ask any questions. I'm just going to be sketching and looking at different fabric and swatches. Hello, everybody. Welcome. So tonight I'm just working on kind of sketching up some project ideas for the future. I don't always take the time to sit down and plan out projects and ideas. So I literally have piles of fabric over here that I'm going to be looking at to see kind of what I want to do in the future and what projects I want to have. So I'm kind of writing stuff down in my notebook and sketching, looking at fabric, all that stuff. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop questions. I'll answer them as I'm working. But this is like the little notebook that I'm working in. I started this last year. It's kind of like a bullet journal in a way, but for sewing projects. And so I kind of have like inspiration and ideas in here. I think I made a TikTok video kind of about this. And then I basically created these pages with ideas for like projects in the future. This is a project that hasn't been made yet. And so I really want to get better this year, like planning out my projects and sketching out ideas for it, working up like video ideas, all that stuff. So that's kind of what I'm working on tonight. Like here is this project for like my princess dress that I made from Curtains. That's on YouTube if you want to go watch it. So that was all of the plans for that. So I have some empty project pages that I can fill out. So I'm just going to get started on that. But if you have questions, like sewing questions, project questions, anything maybe I haven't asked or answered in videos, now's the time to ask about them. If you want to ask questions about my studio, all that stuff. For tonight's live, I'm just using like the webcam on my computer. Next time I'll get like more fancy and have like multiple cameras so you can actually like see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So I'll just kind of like talk about it as I go and then totally be nosy and just ask questions and all that good stuff. And if you're joining me and you haven't checked out my newest video on YouTube that came out today, I did like a cottagecore inspired dress. So that video came out on YouTube today and it's super fun. I really love how it turned out. I almost was going to wear it in tonight's live. And then I was like, no, the garage, which is my studio in my garage, hence why there's like a kayak behind me, a boat in the sewing studio, is because the garage is really cold. Because in Texas, we just had like snow on Monday, super random, but now it's like in the 50s. So we're getting over the cold weather. So I do have to kind of keep bundled up. And if you've been around here for a while, you kind of know that I work in my studio, which is my garage, and it can be like really cold in here. So there's all that. So I have so many ideas for projects this year and not enough time to do them. I feel like the really hard thing with sewing projects, usually I just kind of jump in, and see what kind of comes off. But I'm trying to be better because having a plan means that I can kind of have an idea for like what projects I want to film videos about. And then, because in the perfect world, I would literally film videos about everything, but I don't have the time to do that. If all I was doing every day was sewing and filming videos, I would. It would like be my life and my job, but it's not. So kind of have to try and decide like what I'm going to film YouTube videos for, what I'm going to do kind of like super tiny sewing videos for on like TikTok, because sometimes if I don't get to film a video for a project, I'll just do something for TikTok. That way you can still kind of see like the behind the scenes and the process of me making it. Because sometimes I just like to have a mindless project. Filming videos, I love to do that. I love to show the process, but it takes double the time to do a project when you're filming because you are constantly having to like change the angle of the camera, making sure you're getting all of the shots and everything, and that's just like really time consuming. And for me, sewing is really like a stress reliever and my escape. And so sometimes I like to just do projects where I don't have to think about it. I can just kind of grab a fabric and go and just start like doing random stuff, cutting it up and making things and all that good stuff. So I'm trying to decide like what my next sewing project is going to be, because obviously I just put out the cottagecore dress today in a video. I have 2 other sewing videos that are filmed. The whole process is filmed. So one of them is a dress that I made for my best friend based off of a dress that she sent me in a TikTok video. And I'm super excited about it. If you kind of want to know what that dress is going to be, if you're on TikTok and you go Google and search Waffle House elopement, I know that sounds super weird, but go search Waffle House elopement on TikTok. And like the very first video, you'll see this like cream dress. Super simple, super pretty. But I made that for her birthday as a surprise. And so that was super fun, making like a dress for a friend. So we still have to film the reveal for that. And over here, not being shown in the video right now, is a fabulous princess dress that I worked on in December. It was supposed to be a December project, and then life got crazy and it didn't get to be turned into a video. And it was supposed to be a January project and then a February project, and the dress is done. It was finished in January. All like the clips are filmed. We just haven't filmed the reveal for it yet because I'm working with a friend who is a photographer, and she's going to help me film the reveal because I want it to be like a little bit more kind of cool and cinematic. And then she's also going to do a photo shoot with it because it's a dress that deserves like a proper photo shoot. So yeah, those are 2 really cool sewing projects that are hopefully, one of them's going to come out in February and the other one's going to come out in March. And outside of that, I'm trying to plan out all the rest of my sewing projects. I have a historical project that I'm wanting to make, I think in March. I think I'm going to work on it over spring break. So if you're a fan of historical fashion, if you're a fan of Bridgerton and the Regency era and historical costuming, that is a video that's hopefully going to be made throughout that time. Just checking all my settings on here. So I kind of need ideas for what other sewing projects I'm going to be doing throughout the year. I have a ton of fabric. Yeah, if you are on this live, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell me your name, where you're from, if you're a sewer. Hello from California. That's such a good question. Do I have plans to start my own fashion line in the future? Yes and no. I don't know really how to answer that. I love fashion and I've always wanted to kind of do something with that. Don't know if it will turn into a fashion line. If anything, if I ever did anything in the future, it would kind of be a line based off of like recycled and redesigned things. So if you follow me on YouTube and watch my videos, you know that most of my projects are created from like recycling fabric from like curtains and sheets and bedding and all this stuff. And so if anything, I would kind of maybe create a line based off of that and have like one of a kind pieces. I just don't have time in my schedule right now to do that because literally anytime I'm sewing for a project for myself or working on a project for a video. If I had extra time, I would definitely do something with like a fashion line. So we'll see. Maybe one day. In college, I had an Etsy shop. So I made skirts for people. So I had different lines of skirts that came out in different seasons. And then I would do like custom orders. So that's kind of the extent of where I've gone so far with like fashion. Definitely, I'm a dreamer person. So I have so many ideas for the future. It's just a matter of putting those ideas and plans into action. And seeing what's actually like logistically able to happen and all of that stuff. I'm also like super like emotionally connected to everything that I make, so it's super hard to part with it, especially if it's something that I've made. So that's always a little tricky to do. So yeah. So welcome everyone who's new and joining. If you're just now joining, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Let me know who you are, where you're from, all that stuff. So I pulled out some of the fabric that I have for like future projects. So if you watch my 2021 trends video, a lot of my ideas for projects this year are definitely based off of trends. So like the corset trend, something's coming in March. Like I said, if you are a fan of like historical fashion, Regency time periods, early 1800s, Bridgerton, something's coming in March. With that, fingers crossed. Hello, Leah. So nice to meet you. Thank you for popping in today. So if you all didn't know, I, in my like real everyday life, on the average every day, am a teacher. So I always say I'm a teacher by day and like a seamstress by night and by weekend, or a YouTuber by night and by weekend. So honestly, I'm getting flashbacks to like what it is like in the classroom every day, being on this live, because I have students who join me live on Zoom every day, in addition to kids who are in the classroom. Hello, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you. I decided to be super colorful for today's live video and put a crazy color with it. So talking to like a computer right now is like how I am in the classroom. So sometimes I'm like extra animated on video because I try to be like engaging to my students who are on Zoom and all that cool stuff. But here are some fabrics that I have for projects. So this is like a pink, pale pink with little tiny pink roses sheet. And then I also have a pillowcase that goes with it that I got last summer when I went thrifting, I think, or last fall. And so I got this because I thought it would make a super fun like spring or summer dress. And kind of my idea for this right now is to maybe do something prairie-ish, because prairie dresses are really in and I'm kind of obsessed with them because I was obsessed with like Little House on the Prairie growing up. And so the fact that prairie dresses are a style right now is literally so exciting. So I think I might use this to do some type of like pink prairie-ish type dress. And then I also have remnants of a pink sheet from another like project that I think I'm going to do like ruffles together with it. There's a UK brand, cannot even think of, Blush. There's like some brand with a B that has like prairie dresses, and there's another UK brand, and I, for the life of me, cannot think of their name. I was looking them up on Instagram yesterday, but they do all of these fabulous floral prairie style dresses made out of remnants of Liberty fabrics, which are these like beautiful florals. And so they always have like these bold floral dresses, but then they have like colorful ruffles at the neckline and on the sleeves. So I kind of want to try to like make one of those. I also have this shower curtain, which I almost used for my cottagecore dress in today's video. And then I remember that the whole reason I got this and was saving it was to make a historical 1700s like top or jacket, because this is very much a print that would have been used in the 1700s, like Colonial Williamsburg. Like this was the kind of prints that they had. So I think we're saving that for that kind of project in the future. I also recently got this fun vintage sheet that I really, really love. Usually I'm not like a blue person. I don't wear a ton of blue. I don't have a ton of blue. I don't make a lot of things in blue, but apparently a lot of things I've been reaching for recently are blue. And so this is a super fun sheet that's vintage. I love vintage sheets that are floral because you make something and it automatically looks like it's vintage, like it's from the 60s or 70s. So that's why I really like them. So I can't decide what I want to make this into because it's just a very interesting print. So I can't decide if I want to go like more sundress style or if I want to go straight up like 1960s inspired. We also have this sheet. I'm pretty sure this is a sheet. Yeah, that is a navy and white gingham, which is a fabulously classic print. So I've been toying with ideas for this. I think that we're going to do like a super loose, maybe a dress that has like multiple tiers and like poofy-ish sleeves, possibly. The one fabric that I'm super excited about, and I literally don't know what I'm going to make this into, but it's super, super fun, is this one. So this is also a duvet, just like the fabric I used in the dress for today's video. So it has like 2 layers. So there's tons of fabric here. So I can do a lot with it. I just don't know what I'm going to do with it, because I always thought that it was very blue, and it actually has like a lot of green in it. So it's kind of an interesting color, but it's also a super fun print. So we'll see what that gets turned into. Okay, I was gonna sketch out some ideas for this pink fabric. I have all of these things in like a list somewhere, but I need to start like actually sketching them up so that I can keep track of them. That's it, Shelly. I'm so glad that you knew what I was talking about. Yes, it's Bathsheba. See, okay, you were reading my mind. I knew it started with a B. It was on the top of my tongue. Welcome from London. I'm like missing England so much right now. I was supposed to go to England last summer and then we didn't get to go. So definitely like reliving it through all of my travel photos. Yeah, Bathsheba is a fabulous UK brand. I love all of their dresses. They have like prairie dresses, and then they also have some other styles that are really fabulous. And then there's also another UK-based brand, and I can't think of what their name is. One day I'll remember it. That also does like the prairie dresses that are super, super fun, which I love. So if any of you on here are sewers, I know a lot of people who follow me on YouTube are sewers themselves or are just new getting into sewing or looking to learn. So if any of you are working on projects right now, I'd love to know what they are, or if you have ideas for like things that you are hoping to work on or want to see more of. Hello from New York. That's a good question. Do I ever redo old sewing projects? I don't think that I've ever really redone one, mainly because I always have such a long list of projects that I want to do that I don't always want to go back to something if I can start on something new. But there's definitely projects that I will kind of set aside for a while if I am lacking inspiration, don't know where to go for it. And so then I'll like come back to it. But I've never actually redone something. But that's giving me something to think about. It's like, okay, there was actually one that I redid, and I didn't redo it because I didn't like it. I redid it because I wanted to duplicate it. So there is this Anthropologie dress I saw years and years ago. Gorgeous midi dress with like a tie front. It was like this really pretty, like dusty, cloudy blue. And so I made my own pattern for it, and I made it in a red and white gingham checkered 3 summers ago. Hands down one of my favorite dresses. And 2 years ago, maybe it was last year. It might have actually been last year. I think it was actually last year. Last year was so long, I don't remember what was last year, what was this year. I remade it again. And I think I actually completely redrafted the pattern. So yeah, I guess that's like my one thing that I've remade is because I really like the style of it. And remaking it, I was able to make it in a blue, so it actually looked like the original dress, instead of just being like the same style. So that's that. Okay, we're gonna put a swatch of this fabric. So in like my bullet journal thing, where I try to be super organized, the last time I pulled this out to look at my plans was probably last fall, because I'm looking through this and I realized there's a whole checklist of projects and videos that I wanted to film and post, and I've probably done some of these. And just, you know, not even check them off of my list. I did see that the UK is back in lockdown for the 3rd time. So sorry about that. Yes, I really hope that it'll be open soon so that I can come visit. So the trip that I had planned for last summer was a trip with students. And so we actually rescheduled it for this summer. So fingers crossed that it's still able to take place and happen. We shall see. Time will tell. I'm remaining hopeful. But yeah, the last time I went to the UK was in 2019 with my sister. And oh my gosh, it was so amazing. I cannot wait to go back. We were in Oxford and London, and It was everything that I thought it would be. Definitely fell in love with it. I think that's been one of my favorite things about travel. If any of you have like traveled any place in past years, obviously not like recently, is analyzing all the different fashions, because fashions in other countries are amazing. Like, they're to die for. Like in the United States, we definitely have like our own kind of fashion and style. We have designers who really are like American designers. You can definitely tell in their styles that it's inspired by America and just like our culture and like where they live, whether it's like California or New York or whatever it is. But the styles are just so different in other countries. Just like what everyday people wear compared to like what we wear here, so vastly different. And so I think that's why I love traveling, because I get so many ideas for things. Anytime I travel somewhere, I always dress for wherever I'm traveling to. So my wardrobe definitely mimics wherever I'm going, because I want to like try out new things that I might not necessarily try out here. So yeah, there is that. Okay, pink, rose. So if any of you are travelers, tell me like what your favorite place is that you've traveled, or where, like what country has your favorite kind of style. I definitely love UK style. A lot of my favorite bloggers, whenever I was like really into blogging in college, and then I still follow them on like Instagram today, are people who live in the UK, because they just have really unique style. There's someone I follow, I can't remember her name. I can never remember people's names on Instagram, but she lives in the UK and she's a seamstress, and she sews all these like fabulous things, crazy colorful prints, and I just love everything she makes. But it's things you would never really see people wearing just on an average everyday basis here. And so that's what always intrigues me about other countries, is how styles are so different. But also, like in 2021, a lot of the styles that we're seeing here in the United States are styles that were already in fashion like last year in the UK and in Paris and like all these other countries around the world. And like we're just now adopting it as our trends here, and it's becoming like acknowledged and a thing. So that's why I look to other countries for like style inspiration, because I feel like they're just way ahead of the times. And so usually the things that I'm making are inspired by that craziness and like unique, very individualized style. So if you have been around watching my YouTube videos for a while, you probably know that I like to make a lot of my own patterns. I use a block pattern that I created in college, and I use that to draft a lot of my own things. And so a lot of times people are always asking, where did you get that pattern? Where can I get one that's like it? How do I make it? And I always try to kind of show as best I can how it's made, but that's super hard to do in like a 30-minute video on top of sewing. So that's definitely on my list this year, is to film some videos about pattern drafting and pattern making, how to create and draft your own block, pattern block. It's also sometimes called a sloper. I've realized that we call it a sloper in the United States, and in other countries they tend to call it a pattern block, but it's basically the same thing. So I definitely want to film some videos about that. My fashion design 2 students actually just wrapped up and are finishing up their slopers right now in class. So we just went through that whole process of like taking measurements, drafting slopers, creating our mock-ups, making sure they fit, making adjustments. And so I really want to show that whole process, and not just one YouTube video, multiple YouTube videos. So that's something on my list this year. And then there's another pattern making. It's not really a software because it's not a computer software, but it's like a system that I was sent to try out, and I'm super excited about it because I had heard about it like way before it was sent to me. And so I'm going to try it out and then film a video on that, because it's another really great option for creating original patterns without having to do so much math. Because to create your pattern block, you got to do a little bit of math. So there's a lot of math and fashion, which I always think is super cool. So I definitely want to do some more like classroom oriented videos, things that I teach in the classroom that I haven't really filmed videos for. Hello from Canada. Awesome. I'm glad that you're excited. I'm looking forward to those videos. Drafting patterns, I will say, can be very intimidating. I don't even remember how I drafted mine in college. I just know that we made it. But this is my second year doing it with my students. Yes, Leah, it is the Golden Rule Kit. Yeah, that's the other one that I'm going to be trying out. Have you tried it? You have to let me know what you think. I've seen a couple people use it, and it sounds like it's really awesome. So yeah, pattern drafting can be intimidating. You have to take your measurements. You have to do some math. You have to do some like graphing. But the textbook that I use for it is fabulous. And honestly, if you just take the correct, accurate measurements and then follow the directions, it's pretty straightforward. And then once you create your like mock-up and make sure to do all your fitting, it's pretty good from there. And then after that, it's really just learning how you take that block pattern and turn it into every other type of pattern. Let me grab the textbook. If you haven't watched my video about all my favorite fashion design and sewing resources and books, I talk about all of the things in there, and I talk about this textbook. But it's the Pattern Making for Fashion Design by Helen Joseph Armstrong. This is like my holy grail of pattern making that I used in college. Yes, you are correct, Leah. I did realize that once I was looking at the system. The Golden Rule pattern method is like this super interesting plotting method for creating pattern pieces that I'm going to film a video on sometime this year. But yeah, they don't include directions for how to assemble it. So you do have to have that background knowledge of like assembling clothing. Good question about menswear and women's wear. Yes and no. Pattern blocks for menswear are different because women's wear, it is a bodice block and a skirt, and then pants if you want them. Menswear, the bodice, not the bodice block, but like the top is more so kind of like a button up in a way. I have had one student who has done like a male like pattern block and drafted stuff up, and it turned out pretty well, but we definitely had to rely on like other books because the textbook we were using didn't have a lot of really good descriptions for things. So he had to do some research and figure stuff out. But he's really good about researching, so he's able to like figure everything out. But yeah, that's just the difference with menswear and women's wear. Menswear is usually pants blocks and a top. And then women's wear is a bodice and a skirt, because typically those are easiest to be changed into different things. So plotting them out is different because there's different measurements you're working with. But outside of that, it's pretty much the same. As long as you have measurements and you're following directions, it's pretty straightforward, even though it is super intimidating. But there is a blog post that I found at one point. I can't remember what blog it's on. And they go through like how to do it. I know there are a lot of really awesome online lessons, kind of like Skillshare. Skillshare has some, and then other places have some where you can learn pattern making. But there's also a ton of really awesome resources on YouTube. If you know how to like do research and find things, you can find a lot of stuff there. Okay, I pulled this out to talk about pattern making, but yeah, it goes through and like tells you all of the directions and stuff. So this is a great resource. I linked it in that video that I made about it. So that's what I used in college, and that's what I use with my students, because honestly, every single fashion design student that I've seen online uses that textbook in their pattern making classes. There are a couple of other pattern making textbooks, but looking at them and doing research on them, none of them really have all of the same things and details as this one does. So this one's definitely go-to. So I really want to put those out as soon as possible, but again, gotta have time to do it. But my hope is that once I kind of like film those, that I can just also use those as video resources in my classroom. So that's kind of my idea for this year, is to film videos for YouTube that can also be used as resources in my classroom, instead of having to go find videos for my students when I'm teaching different topics. So there's that. I'm also planning on doing a video about all the different seams and seam finishes, like how to hem, how to gather, how to finish different seams, how to sew different zippers, because that is something I had to do for a project in college, and it's something that I make all my students do, both in Fashion Design 1 and they do advanced seams in Fashion Design 2. And so learning the basics of all of your different seams and how to insert different zippers helps you as you're working on projects, because instead of having to learn that skill in the moment, you already know how to do it. And so that's always super helpful. I was going to try to see if this textbook has menswear, because I can never remember if it has menswear directions for drafting. I'll have to look for this at another time. But yeah, this is a really good textbook. Honestly, without that, I wouldn't know anything. I'm also very much a visual learner. So I think depending on how your learning style is, different aspects of sewing and fashion design can be a little bit tricky to understand and like latch onto right away. So for me, I learn by seeing things. So if I literally watch a video, I don't even have to hear them talking about it. I can just watch the video or look at step-by-step pictures of how something's supposed to be done, and I can figure it out, because that's like how I learn. When I'm using like patterns from the store, I hardly ever read the directions. I just look at the pictures, because the directions make no sense to me and the pictures make more sense. If you're an auditory learner, hearing things and reading things helps you to understand it. So you're going to want to have like a more technical description example of what you're actually supposed to do, because it's going to make sense to you. And then obviously if you're like tactile, actually doing it along with seeing it is going to help you learn that. So that's something that I've realized over the years, is that I'm very visual. So like watching something being done or seeing a picture, I'm able to figure it out. And that's how, once I kind of understand the basics of pattern making, I'm able to like figure out and adjust my patterns to make new things. But the video I did come out with today is from a store-bought pattern, the pattern that I just showed you. So if you want to make something along with the video that I have, that's a great one to start with, because it's actually something that I bought at the store. I didn't like make it from scratch. So it's a great one to kind of try out and make. I've also had another idea for a video this year. I have a lot of ideas. It's just a matter of having time for them. Because filming videos is a multiple hour process, and then editing them is another multiple hour process. And so usually I'm only able to come up with a video every weekend, and sometimes even not then. So I've been thinking about doing one over sketching and like fashion illustrations. I am not the best artist, but I do teach it to my students, and I've gotten like way better over the years of practice. And so I feel like for some people, learning how to sketch their designs and make them lifelike and look like how they want them to is also something really important and good to know, especially if you're someone who really loves fashion. Maybe you're interested in going into fashion. Also, if you are someone who's interested in fashion and wanting to learn more outside of my channel, if you have not checked out Zoe Hong on YouTube, you need to go like subscribe to her channel right now and check her out, because She is a fashion professor at a university. Like she teaches higher level fashion design classes. I believe she worked in the industry for a while, but then she came and taught. And so her entire channel is literally focused on everything you need to know about fashion in the industry. I always say you could basically watch all of her videos and learn everything you need to about fashion design without like going to college for fashion design, because she talks about so many things that you need to know. So she has a really great video about fashion sketching, how to draw croquis, and how to like illustrate fashions, which I actually use in my classes. But I've been thinking about like making some other ones. Yeah. It's always amazing. Like I love all of her videos so much. And I have so many students who use her as a resource to learn things on their own. I haven't even like watched all of her videos, but they are literally so insightful and amazing. She has things about technical aspects of fashion design, but she also has a lot of really great things for educational resources. Like if you're in college for fashion design, here's how you make a portfolio or do your collection or do all of these different things. So she's another great resource for things that I'm not able to cover yet on my channel, but it seriously means the world to me that y'all follow along with all my adventures in sewing. Honestly, like this time last year, I really had a non-existent like YouTube channel. And then we started posting videos and it just kind of went from there. And it's been the coolest thing ever. And I'm so excited and glad that I get to do this. Yes, I definitely change my mind as I go. Yeah, I'm not that great at drawing, and I'm honestly have gotten a lot better over the years. A lot of the things I draw, like this, I'll show y'all in a minute, is just like the flat garment. Drawing it on like people, so not good at that. I cannot draw people to save my life. I can draw croquis, which are your basic forms and figures. But I like most of my students are like incredible artists. Like the things that they draw and sketch are mind blowing and amazing. And so like they're honestly better at me. But yes, as I'm going through projects, like I will start with a sketch and an idea of what I'm going to make. And then as I go through, sometimes I realize, okay, what I originally thought is not going to work. So we're going to have to kind of adapt this and change the idea. So then what I make ends up not even going with my sketch anymore. And that's okay. I think the best thing about fashion in sewing is to be flexible, because you're always going to make mistakes and you're going to have to figure things out. And that's also part of being creative, is if you try to like keep yourself in one lane, you're not going to allow yourself to like actually be as creative as you possibly could be. So it's the creative license to know you're allowed to break the rules and change what you do. So what are like y'all's other favorite channels on YouTube for sewing things? In case there are any that I am not following. I follow a couple of other ones that are like really awesome for sewing projects and for like learning technical stuff. But I'm always wanting to know more so that I can go learn like for myself and suggest things for students. On my channel page, I think it's on like the right side, somewhere on the homepage of my YouTube. I have like pinned some of my favorite channels, and most of them are fashion related ones or sewing. So if you ever want to know like who my favorites are, go check them out. Love with Wendy, Blueprint DIY. Okay, I'm going to be writing this down. Okay, half soybean, I just heard about because one of my students was talking about the selkie dress that she made. I believe that she like did a DIY selkie dress on there. And so one of my students is wanting to remake it. And so she told me that half soybean had a really good tutorial. All right, so we've got this sketched up. We're going to add a little bit of color to it, and then that's our idea for our sketch, at least, for this plan of a project. This is way too bright of pink, but that's okay. Funny and talented. Okay, I'm gonna have to write her down also. Rosary Apparel. I'm just gonna make like a new page in this notebook with suggestions. I have to go check these out, the new ones that I've heard about. Some of my favorites, I love Kulurpa. She does a lot of thrift flip videos and redesigns. So I love all of her videos. The Fold line, ooh, that one actually sounds like really good. I love that name too. Where's my list? There we go. Fold line. There's another one. I can't remember her name. But she's in Germany and I love her videos. She is coming out with like a collection, but she has a lot of really great videos showing you how to adapt patterns and how to drape. And her channel is tagged on my account on my homepage, so you can go find it. It starts with a T. It's like this something. And hers really good. Also, hands down, one of like my favorite. She does sewing tutorials and videos. It's not like what you think. They're like these crazy vlogs, but the things she makes are so fun. Is Makara Tours. If you don't follow her, you're missing out on life. Her videos are literally hilarious. She is the coolest person ever. She was also homeschooled and I was homeschooled. Fun fact. So I relate to a lot of the randomness in her videos because that's literally my life. And so she makes some really incredible things. She doesn't use patterns for anything. She just like dives straight into it. And the things that she makes are like really fun. She kind of redoes designer looks sometimes. She will redo like red carpet looks. She's made like Ariana Grande dresses and all these other things from the red carpet that are super fun. So if you want to go check out hers, she has some really awesome videos. Monthly sew-alongs. I'm realizing that like all of these really talented and awesome like seamstresses on like Instagram and YouTube live in the UK, which I just think is so cool. I feel like there's a really cool community of seamstresses and sewers in the UK. But like, I mean, we have that here too. I feel like it's just different other places too. Sewing Bunny. Okay, here's our very rough plan. So we've got our dress, I've got my swatches. I have no notes and details yet because we're just gonna kind of dive right into this. Yes, so yeah, if you've never watched my Carrie Tutor's videos, like I said, she does sewing tutorials, but if you tried to follow it, you would be lost. Because her way of measuring is she will tell you, okay, the front of the bodice needs to be 3 Hershey bars long. It's hilarious. But the things she makes, like, it makes sense to her. And if you can follow along with the disjointedness, like, it's really, really fun. Pattern making books I recommend. I will tell you about some of them, but I also like talk a lot more about them in not today's video that I came out with, but the last video I came out with, all about my top sewing and fashion books. Okay, number 1 pattern making book is Pattern Making for Fashion Design by Helen Joseph Armstrong. This is a college textbook. So it's a little pricey. You can rent them and you can find them used. Finding them used is the best option. So this is the one I found on Amazon. It's a soft cover and it's the cheapest option. They also have a hard cover, which it has a blue cover. It's a little bit different. This is the best one. If you want to learn how to do pattern making, this is what I used in college, and this is what most fashion design students, it's what their textbook also is. So this is the best one, honestly, for pattern making. Outside of that, I really don't recommend that many others for pattern making. Sometimes if you find like the older Vogue sewing books and Singer sewing books, they'll have things about pattern making in there as well. I've just never really analyzed their pattern making like logistics and directions all that much to see like how they compare. Most sewing or tailoring type of books are going to have some type of pattern making, but that's usually my go-to. Thank you. I did not make this. This is actually like a button-up shirt that I got. I just wear it under all my sweaters, but I've been thinking about doing like a video with like little tiny projects and making like the collars. Because I'm obsessed with the whole collar trend and I need more of them because it's the only one that I have. Girl inside the hem. Okay, I'm gonna write her down too. Got so many new people to go check out on YouTube. I'm very excited about this. Awesome. Okay. So we've got one thing made. One thing planned out. Inside the hem. Cool. I'm definitely like once later tonight, I'm gonna go check out all these different channels. Ooh, that's awesome. What is your channel what your name is? Nina Lee Baker shirt dress has a huge collar. Okay, I'm gonna go Google this right now. Nina Lee Baker. Nina Lee is the pattern. Okay, the Lou shirt dress. Awesome. Okay, Momo makes. Baker Lou is the spelling of the pattern. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to go check that one out. Let me see if it popped up. Oh, I do see it. I love that. That's so cute. Yes, that's like the style that I'm really loving for 2021. I would probably make it like a midi dress, but yeah, I absolutely love the color. I'm definitely gonna have to go check that pattern out and make it because I feel like that would be perfect for some of these sheets and prints that I have. Maybe that's what I'll make this plaid in. Okay, right now I'm really working on a project in this live. I'm just like sketching out and planning out ideas for future projects. But obviously, if you've been here, you know that we're talking and having a good time. So we're not being super productive, but that's how lives go. You say that you're going to just be like working on something and people can come hang out, and then you end up, you know, getting carried away with all of these other things. Okay, future projects though. What are my current projects? I have 2 videos that I have to edit coming up soon. I also have 2 videos that aren't sewing videos if you like my non-sewing videos. So later this month I have a closet flip if you like my fall closet flip, or flipping it for spring and summer. So I just did that this weekend and filmed it. And so I'll be editing that. And then as I was doing my closet flip, I realized that I had all of these old sewing projects at the bottom of all of these crates of my clothes in storage. And there are all these old things that I made that I don't wear anymore because either they don't fit me or they're not my style. And so I pulled them all out because I've been wanting to do a video like rating and talking about all my old past sewing projects and how I've like progressed and come along over the years based on what I've learned. So I think I'm going to film that video sometime, is showing y'all these older sewing projects of mine. I'm pretty sure most of them are from high school, and kind of showing y'all what I used to make and how far I've come. But in March is when I'm going to be doing most of my sewing because that's when I have my spring break. So I have 2 ideas for projects that are a little bit more historical fashion, because they're projects on my list that I've been wanting to make, and also just things that I kind of want to film videos for. If you're into historical fashion, I feel like I came up with a list of more projects the other day. So one of them is like Regency stays. So one is for like a historical pair of stays, but then also them reimagined for 2021. It's going to be super, super fun, especially if you're like a period drama fan, if you're a Bridgerton fan. There's going to be all that. I want to make like a Regency dress, but I don't know if I'll make that in March. And then obviously I do want to do a video over a prairie dress. Yes, I cannot wait to talk about all these things. I have like the piles right next to me. It's not like my old stuff. I'm really, really sad because I don't know where some of my very original sewing projects are. I don't know if there are other places in the storage or if we got rid of them, because I'm just surprised my mom let me actually wear them. But I thought they were super cool, but thinking back to them, I'm just surprised that I wore them. Lauren Johnson. Okay, so yeah, we're like Instagram friends. We've been following each other for years, back when we both used to like do blogging stuff. And I think she did do a collar one time. I'm gonna have to go peruse her channel and see if she did that. Yeah, I want to make the fake collar, Rosary Apparel. I feel like I follow Rosary Apparel too. I'm pretty sure that I do. I can never remember like names whenever I'm just like trying to think of them off the top of my head. I love it. You got the Target prairie dress. Okay, I'm obsessed with the Target prairie dresses so much. And it's really hilarious because half of my TikTok page is people like questioning why in the world Target would come out with these dresses. But it makes perfect sense to me because if we're looking in the terms of like trend forecasting, I knew that these dresses were going to become in trend because I saw them all over the UK last year. And so it makes sense that they're finally making their way here. So a lot of people have done hilarious photo shoots with them and like really made them look like Little House on the Prairie and be making fun of them. But I think that they're dresses that you can totally rock in a super modern way, which is why I love them. And I would totally be buying them, but I like to try and like make them myself. That's like my new thing. So absolutely, yeah, I want to try and make a prairie dress. That's probably one of my like next sewing videos, is a prairie dress. In addition to those Regency stays. I have so many things to work on and not enough time. I did see the photo shoots with the guys wearing them. It's hilarious. Like the guys wearing the prairie dresses and they're like in the chicken coop and like out in the pasture with the cows. It's so, so funny. I feel like most people make fun of them, but I'm the kind of person who likes really ugly, weird, wacky, random, old-fashioned styles. And so to me, it's super cool. And I would just wear it normally. So yes, definitely wanting. Thank you. I definitely do like the prairie dress style. I got a 1960s like vintage dress last fall that is very much a prairie dress style. And was like one of my favorite dresses for the fall. I need to wear it more before the season really changes. Yeah, growing up, Little House on the Prairie was my favorite show. I basically lived in prairie dresses growing up because I just played dress up all the time. And so the fact that it's now like acceptable because it's in style to wear them as an adult is awesome. Honestly, all of my favorite historical styles are basically acceptable to wear right now. And historical silhouettes are really into fashion this year, which I'm very excited about. I talked about that in my 2021 trends video. So I'm really excited about making all those things. I have a list of all of these different videos that I wanted to make. Yeah, I don't know where they all are. Bonnets. That would be nice if bonnets came back. I don't know if bonnets will ever really come back. I mean, bucket hats are in style, and that's like super close to a bonnet. I mean, if you just wear like further back on your head and put some ribbon on it, it's basically a bonnet. So, I mean, maybe we could bring them back. Straw bonnets are a different thing. Love me a straw bonnet. But yeah. Trader Joe's would be the perfect place to wear bonnets and prairie dresses. And it'd be like totally acceptable because that just totally fits like the whole aesthetic of like Trader Joe's. Oh, the other dress that I want to make for like the spring or summer is out of this fabric that I got last year on clearance at Hobby Lobby. There's this, I'm pretty sure it's Carolina Herrera. This Carolina Herrera dress, I saw it in New York at the FIT Museum, the Fashion Institute of Technology Fashion Museum. If you're ever in New York, when things are open again, FIT is the fashion school in New York, one of them in addition to Parsons. And so they have a fashion museum with exhibits that like rotate throughout the year, and it's completely free. And so when I was in New York, not last November, the November before that, we went to the museum and I saw the Carolina Herrera dress there and I just fell in love with it. It was so gorgeous. And it's this bright yellow dress with these really bright, like black and blue and white flowers. They're really big print. This one is super tiny prints, but it's kind of like the same color scheme of it. And so I kind of wanted to try and make it. Then I saw the Carolina Herrera dress in a TV show. And so fell in love with that. Again, especially because it was like a fashion focused TV show. So yeah, that's another thing that we can talk about. What are your go-to like shows for either fashion inspiration? Maybe they're not like fashion focused, but you gain fashion inspiration from them, or a fashion like show. Because there's like a number of them. Like we have Project Runway, Making the Cut, Next in Fashion are really great shows for technical sides of fashion. But then there's also TV shows that like deal with the fashion industry, and those are super fun to watch also. So we watch Project Runway in class with my students on like Friday sometimes, and I try to keep up with it, but I never like had cable growing up, so I didn't really watch Project Runway. But so like now I go back. I love Making the Cut and I love Next in Fashion. The fashion designers on those show are like really talented, and the designs are way different than Project Runway. I haven't watched any of the new Project Runway seasons, so I like just watch old stuff usually. I haven't watched any of the New York Fashion Week presentations, but on Monday, that's what we're doing in class with my students because we were like off all of this last week because of snow and cold weather in Texas. So Monday's like a chill day. So I think we're going to go through and watch some of the different New York Fashion Week presentations, which I'm excited about because I haven't gotten a chance to watch any of them yet. Outside of that, fashion TV shows that are like fashion focused. So in high school, there was a TV show, I think on ABC. I think so. I didn't watch it on TV. I watched it on like Netflix or something that it was on at the time, called Jane by Design. It only has one season, but it's about this high school girl. I think she's like a junior or senior who gets an internship at a fashion magazine, but then they think she's an adult, so she ends up getting in this assistant position at this like fashion business house. So it basically follows her life of trying to like make it as a high schooler, pretending to be like an adult at like a fashion house. It's so good. I've watched it like 2 times and I love her style in the show. Ooh, a New York Fashion Week trends video. That would be a good video to do, is talking about all the trends, because everything that is on New York Fashion Week that was on at New York Fashion Week last week was all for fall winter 2021. So it isn't spring summer because we're always a season ahead for fashion weeks. But I could definitely analyze it. Emily in Paris, amazing. Watched it 2 times. That was my quarantine show last year. I love that show for the fashion. Super good. So that's another really great one for fashion, even though it's not like she doesn't work in a fashion house, but it's fashion related. The other really good ones that I like is The Bold Type. It's on Hulu, and it's a fashion magazine. So you kind of see the fashion stylist perspective, the journalist, and like the social media manager. And it's kind of interesting to see that. I mean, there's definitely stuff in the show that I don't like, but like the fashion aspect of it is super cool. And then the other one that came out, I think it came out last year. I think there's only 1 season. It's the CW TV show Katie Keene, and it's kind of a spin-off in a way of Riverdale, because it has characters from Riverdale, but it's like not Riverdale because I don't like Riverdale. But Katie Keene, it's about this girl named Katie who lives in New York, and she's basically like a fashion designer and wanting to like become really well known. And so the fashions in it are super unique, and the costume designer that did all of her outfits for the show gave her this really unique signature style, and it's super fun. So I really like that one as well. Those are all of like the fashion shows I can really think of off the top of my head right now that are fashion related. Outside of that, I get a lot of inspiration just from other shows that I watch. I got into like K-dramas last year, and so very inspired by the fashion and K-dramas. Yeah, this is the other fabric for a project that I probably won't do until later in the spring or maybe the summer. We shall see. I have some redesign projects I want to do also. I have a whole crate of things that I've thrifted that I want to redesign into new things. So there's that. I'm trying to think. I had all these ideas for all of these different styles that I wanted to make. No, I can't think of them. There's this one dress that's already in my notebook. Dear Sister Jane is a really awesome brand that I love, and they have really unique designs. And so this was a sketch of one of their dresses, and this is a shower curtain that I have that's yellow, that's textured like the dress. And so we might make that sometime, since I've had it in here forever and ever. And then I think that's all of the main ones. I will say, if you are someone who's interested in designer fashion, celebrity fashion, like fashion shows, analysis of different things, etc., Haute La Mode, that's also a channel that is tagged on my YouTube. So Luke Mar runs that channel, and he does a fabulous job about analyzing like different collections, talking about different designers, celebrity styles. He's basically like a fashion commentator per se, but he's super knowledgeable. His videos are very entertaining, and just like you learn a lot. So he talks a lot about some of the fashion shows that happened recently and like analyzing the trends. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. You went to FIT. 100%. Definitely next time in New York, if any of you live in New York, totally would love to meet up. Yeah, that's the one sad thing is a lot of places in New York are really closed right now. I was thinking about going there over spring break, but because a lot of the things I want to do in New York aren't necessarily open, I don't think I'm going to go yet. Yeah, one of my students, he's working on applying to fashion schools right now, and FIT is like the top on his list. So I'm really hoping that he gets into it because it'd be so cool for him to go there, and I know he would like do amazing. So do any of you have any other ideas for projects that you like want to see videos of? I'm just looking over on my shelf at my fabric stash. Ooh, I need to go writing down another one. Another YouTube channel I need to go check out for fashion designers and ateliers. Love it. Where do I buy my fabric? Most of my fabric now comes from the thrift store in the form of sheets, curtains, shower curtains, and duvets or comforters. But when I'm actually buying fabric, I get a lot of things from Joann's because I like to see and like feel things in person. Like my strawberry dress, if any of you have seen the strawberry dress, I got all of that fabric off of Etsy because it was very specialty fabric, and so that's where I was able to find it. And then I love fabric.com. I don't buy a ton of things from them, but if I'm looking for a specific kind of fabric that I can't find at Joann's, I'll buy it there. But I'm always trying to make things out of fabric that I thrift because I'm huge on like trying to be somewhat ethical and sustainable. That's a huge thing in fashion these days, just because a huge passion of mine is being an advocate for human trafficking. I'm raising awareness for it, and that's a huge part of the fashion industry. And even if I'm like making my own clothes, a lot of the fabric that you buy at the store is being made in similar places and factories that our clothes are being made. So we don't always know if it's being made in ethical places. So even though I'm making it myself and it's my labor making it, there's still labor going into like making that fabric. A lot of people, found my channel from the strawberry dress. It was like one of those crazy once in a lifetime things. It was literally insane. It's honestly because of that dress that I have my YouTube channel today, which is just still pretty crazy. So yeah, that dress is near and dear to my heart. This is a fabric that I forgot that I had over on my shelf. I got this at a quilt shop like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I got it when I was in college. Honestly, I got it 3 years ago. That's how long I've had this. But it is like these dress forms, vintage dress forms. So if I'm looking for novelty fabrics, in college I was super into novelty fabrics because I wanted all these outfits to go with the things that I taught in class. Like my students know me as like the Miss Frizzle teacher. So I wanted all these outfits to go with things that I taught, and I have a couple of them. So this is one of the sewing ones that I still need to make into like a dress or something. So I forgot that I have that, but I also need to use. Thank you. That means so much. I also have this other really cool fabric I have to show y'all. So I'm pretty sure this fabric is also from a quilt shop, and it is like patterns, like directions for a pattern, but printed onto fabric. And so I want to make an outfit out of this, and I think I'm going to do like a really fun like jumpsuit out of that instead of a dress, so something a little bit more like unique and funky. Jessica, so I took part in Dresscember in December and wore dresses for a month. We were able to raise $1,500. And so, yeah, that was super cool. I love the work that they do. And yeah, they're a huge reason why I'm an advocate for human trafficking, but also why I connect it to fashion, because that is like their sole focus is the exploitation of people in the fashion industry and human trafficking. So yeah, I have a video about all of like the dresses that I wore every day for the month of December. And then I also have a video talking about like the business and ethical side of the fashion industry, talking about like the ethics that we don't always think about and know about, how human trafficking is so largely tied to the fashion industry and fast fashion. So if you want to learn more about that, can't remember what it's called, but I know the like thumbnail is pink, and it says stuff like that on there. Yeah, I cannot wait to take part with them again this next December. Yeah, it was a really cool experience, and I'm so glad that I finally got to take part, because I've been following their work for years, and I finally decided to take part this year, and it was so cool. And I would like talk about it in class with my students. Yes, I really want to do a project video for the jumpsuit for this one. So that is definitely on my list. And I will use an actual store-bought pattern for it, because I have like a really fun jumpsuit pattern, so it won't be one where I'm like drafting it. So yeah, I think I have like 3 videos talking about December. I have one talking about like why I was taking part in it, one talking about like ethical fashion, and then one with like all my outfits. So all right. I cannot remember what else I wanted to work on designing tonight. I have some ideas for all of these things, and I have all these ideas written in another notebook somewhere that I need to go find. I was also going to work on like cutting out patterns for the next thing that I wanted to do. If y'all have any more questions, feel free to ask. I made an awesome list of YouTubers and other channels that I want to go check out that I'm not currently following. So I'm super excited to go check all of those out. I really thought that this had pattern pieces in it. There they are. I do not have an embroidery machine. In my classroom, I have like this super fancy one that I like only know how to do letters on. It's this huge industrial like Brother machine that you can put like 8 different colors in. It has like 8 needles. It's like computerized. So we're working on figuring out how to use it better so that we can do more embroidery in class. But I personally do not have one. I would definitely like to get one someday, I think, but I don't do a lot of embroidery on my projects. So if anything, I would probably just get one of the like standard machines that have the embroidery stitches. I feel like that's kind of like the best option. But because I do so much with apparel, I do less embroidery than if I were doing more crafting projects and quilting. So all I have is a regular sewing machine. I mean, I have multiple regular sewing machines, but this is my newer one, which I really, really love. And then I have a serger, which is that one. And it's an Evolve baby lock. I think it's from like the 90s or 2000s. It was my grandma's, and I know they don't make the style of it anymore or the model of it anymore, but it's amazing. It's really, really good. I think the Brother 4x4 embroidery machine is one of the ones that, is that one of the ones that's like a normal sewing machine, but it has the embroidery computer aspect? I know Brother has a lot of different softwares for embroidery. So I'm not the best person to ask because I don't do a lot with embroidery. But I bet that there are probably some other people on YouTube, because YouTube is my go-to to figure things out and learn things, that can probably suggest the best software. Because I know that's one thing about embroidery machines is you have to have the right software to get the designs that you want when you get into the really computerized ones. Okay, it's just a regular embroidery machine. Brother has like the best embroidery machines, in my opinion. I love Janome for sewing machines. They have, Brother has good sewing machines also, but I've used a Janome for the past like however many years, and that's what we use in class. But Brother has really good embroidery machines. I also am thinking about if any of you are like newbies to sewing on my channel and wanting to learn more, doing more like intro to sewing videos where I talk about sewing machines and stuff like that. So I'm hoping to film some of those. I really want to work with Janome on a video, so we'll see if that happens. And talk about like all the different things about sewing machines. Even though there's like videos out there that you can go like find, it might be nice to just like have some on my channel. Sewstein for embroidery machine videos. There we go. Awesome. So I'm just cutting out the pattern that I'm going to be using for the Regency Stays, which is the video that I want to work on in March. So y'all are hearing it here first. You get first dibs to know what's coming in the future. Okay, yes, Illustrator. So that's also on my list to learn how to use. Again, so many things I want to learn and do, not enough hours in the day. For our school, we have access to all of the Adobe Creative Suites. And so we have access to Illustrator and Photoshop and all that stuff. And so it's been on my list to learn how to use it, because I know you can create patterns on there and you can make patterns. And you can also create flats and just in general use it to illustrate things. But that takes time to do. So that's definitely something I want to learn more of. So maybe in like a couple years, I can film videos about that. I know there's videos out there right now about it, but that's something on my list because I want to learn like the technical computer side of fashion. So one of my students, he is working on his portfolio project that I'm making them do, and they have to include flats for their designs. So he taught himself how to use Illustrator to draw his flats, and they turned out so good. And he actually, I think, used a video that Zoe Hong had on her channel, and he figured out how to do it, and they're literally amazing. Awesome. Okay, that's good to know that there are tutorials within the Creative Suite software. And yeah, I know there's so many YouTube videos out there. And I know I could easily learn it by watching YouTube video. I just want to set aside some time for that. Projector sewing. Are you talking about where you project your pattern and then cut it out? Because I know one of the other fashion teachers at one of the high schools in my district installed a projector in her sewing room to do that. And I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I haven't really looked into it. But basically, like, you project your patterns onto your fabric. So instead of having to print out your pattern, you just like cut it out, which I think is a great idea. One, not everyone has a printer, and we might not want to print it. I mean, you know, that's like paper and whatnot. So I think it's a great idea as long as like you get it projected at the right size. But I feel like you have to have the right setup for it. But I think it's a really cool thing. Also, because I feel like there are things you might not be able to find patterns for, but you could find like pictures of patterns and then roughly get the idea for like maybe historical things of how to make the pattern if you could like project it. There's a lot of cool technology things in fashion these days, which is really cool because it's ever evolving and ever changing. So I was looking through, I got some new fashion magazines in the mail, and I was going to get out some inspiration pieces for the spring. Yeah, go for it. Quick fire questions. Ask away. Whoever wants to. This is why I wanted to do this live, because I feel like on YouTube can be so big that your community doesn't like seem small. On Instagram, I feel like it's so small and I like know people really well, but on YouTube, I feel like it's so big. Pattern or draping? Right now, pattern, because I'm getting better at draping, but I like that draping is like the less technical thing, because you have a lot more freedom. Serger, not zigzag. Because I have a serger, but when I didn't have a serger, I did zigzag, but I'm obsessed with how fast sergers go and what it looks like. Oh, I've never used either horsehair tape or horsehair braid or hem tape, so I'd probably say horsehair braid because the things that I've seen, I like how it looks better. Invisible marker, because usually I use that a lot better, but I do kind of like chalk, but invisible marker just don't like wash away as quickly. So that's my go-to. I call them magic markers. I like the blue and the purple ones. Those are like my favorites. So whenever I got these magazines, they got all wet, so I could like rip the pages apart. Ooh, it depends what I'm drafting. Probably a curved ruler because, yeah, I don't like to follow the rules, so a lot of times I just freehand things, but I kind of do like using curved rulers. I actually only have one curved ruler. I just have a varicomb form. I need to get a French curve. So whenever I do videos about pattern making, I will definitely talk about all of the pattern making tools that you need to have. I've never ever heard of Will Walk, so I'm gonna have to go Google this. So I have to say Amazon Prime, because I also have Amazon Prime. Like a horrible sound. How do I organize all my sewing supplies? I feel like it's not really organized. It's organized chaos. That is the best way to describe my life. Because of like the small space that I'm in, I mean, this part looks organized. Everything else is like anything that's similar to itself is like in that area. But I'm in the garage. I literally have multiple shelves and drawers that have just fabric and stuff in it. So it's not really organized right now. So I actually do need to sit down and like really organize it. It was organized last year at the beginning of quarantine because I went through all my fabric and like put it by projects that I wanted to work on. So right now it's just all over the place. I do keep most of my tools like in this desk, but it's kind of all over. Will Walk is the wholesale website for sewing stuff. I feel like my life has changed. I'm literally going to look that up right now because, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I do a lot with Amazon Prime though, because as a teacher, we have Amazon Prime, and so that's what I do a lot of classroom supplies with. And so I'm always using Amazon Prime for most of our sewing tools in class that I can't get from educational like websites. Love that you're weeding through your fabric stash and making clothes. That's what I've been trying to do. And then I just get more fabric and it's bad. Last year, a lot of the projects I made were made with fabric from my great aunt, who's now 98. And so a lot of this fabric was like vintage. So most of the things I made last year were from her fabric stash. How do you stabilize a 4-way stretch fabric? What are you making it into? I think because depending on what you're turning it into would be like how you stabilize it. A dress. Are you wanting to stabilize the dress or are you wanting to stabilize like the neckline? I'm a huge fan of fusible interfacing because it comes in all different kinds. So you have fusible interfacing that is like your lightweight. And then you also have it on very light fabric. And so I like that because it bonds to the fabric and then you basically use it as like one thing and it keeps things from stretching. It's sleeveless pull-on shoulder seams. So you're wanting to stabilize the seams at the shoulders. When you're working with stretches, zigzag is a great stitch to use if you don't have a serger because it still allows you to like stretch. But if you're wanting to keep your fabric from like stretching throughout some part, I would probably go with fusible interfacing. It's a great way to stabilize most anything. Top of shoulder, yeah, I think fusible interfacing would be the best one. I don't have any good examples right now, but lightweight or featherweight's the best one. There's some that it's like, it's not fabric. It's like this fake something or other. I don't even know what it is. That'd be a great one, but I like the ones that are also like very, very light fabric. Do you usually start and finish one project at a time or can you juggle multiple projects? I usually kind of start one project at a time just because I'm usually working on a time frame of wanting to get a video out. I usually have lots of ideas, but I try to stay on one project because it usually takes me 2 to 3 weeks or a weekend, depending on like how much time I have to do a project. So I usually just work on that one thing because I'm filming it and then I edit it and shoot it and then work on my next project. If I had more time, I would be working on multiple projects, but oddly enough, sewing, I usually just stick to one thing. Yeah, quilting tape is a lot like fusible interfacing. That would be another great option to try for shoulders. Do I enjoy sewing costumes or clothes? I am such a fashion history nerd. Last year, I got to work on 4 or 5 historical projects that I've been wanting to make since high school, if that tells you anything. And so I love sewing costumes, but to me, I have nowhere to wear them. So a lot of times I end up just sewing regular clothes. But my goal is to make a full ensemble for every single decade of fashion history. So like early 1700s, late 1700s, early 1800s, 1830s, 1850s, with all the undergarments to go with it, because I'm just obsessed with historical clothes. So I enjoy sewing costumes. I just don't have anywhere to wear them. I need to become a reenactor so that I have places to wear them. So it really depends on the mood I'm in. So right now, sewing regular clothes, but I also love costumes. So yeah, I sewed a lot of costumes last year. That's what I did for all of the spring. And I wasn't doing YouTube videos then, so I didn't film any of them. And I really wish I would have. But I have a video with most of them on my channel. So if you go to the video, that's called I wore historical clothes every day to school for a week. You'll see all those costumes that I made. My experience teaching teenagers. They're awesome. I love my students. I'm super lucky because my kids choose to take my classes, most of them. Some of them just get randomly assigned to fashion design, but most of them, because of our district, it's part of their pathway. It's something that they're interested or wanting to go into, or it's an elective they choose. So they literally choose to be there. And so most of them are super interested in it. My kids this year are uber talented. I have like 8 boys taking fashion this year in my fashion 1 classes, which is the most I've had. And this is only my 2nd year teaching fashion. And like 4 or 5 of them are incredibly talented. Like they're definitely going to go work in the fashion industry. So yeah, teaching teenagers is fun. I like it because you can hold them accountable a lot more than middle school and elementary. You can have really good conversations with them, and there's a lot of things that we like have similar interest on. So yeah, I think that they're really fun. Everyone always like thinks that being a high school teacher is like hard. I mean, being a teacher is hard. I'm lucky because of the classes I teach. I don't really have to deal with a ton of like issues behavior wise. So I don't sell the items I make right now. I am super attached to everything I make, so it's super hard to part with it. So maybe one day I will sell some of my past things that I don't wear. Maybe one day I'll start selling things that I make. So as of now, no. Oh, that's such a good idea. The zipper clear bags from curtains and pillowcases, and then they're just ready to go. That's so brilliant. Definitely like want to steal that, because if all your projects are cut, then you can just grab them and go. That's such a great idea. Yeah, the whole cutting part is like my least favorite part of sewing, because it's just so time consuming. I would rather just have everything be cut and sewn, which is why in like fashion houses, there are people whose sole job is to mark the patterns. Then someone else, strictly their job is to cut everything, and other people's whole job is to sew it. So it's super streamlined. The minute you're done making a project, you already hate it. No, that's so sad. Even you put all the zippers and stuff in the bag too. That's awesome. Last year when I was working on my projects, I had like this plastic set of drawers. And that was the first time I was ever organized on things. So all of my fabric that I had, I organized with the patterns into the drawers. And that's how I got through 4 or 5 historical projects in like 3 weeks. Because I was sewing every single day, all day long. But yeah, definitely not that organized right now. Want to get a lot better organized with all my sewing stuff in my studio. There's just a lot in here, and I need to clear some stuff out to better store it. Because I was doing my closet flip this past weekend, I was pulling out, because I always try to pull out whenever I do my closet flip for every season and get rid of things I haven't worn in a while. So I'll recycle things that are worn, donate some things to Goodwill and other thrift stores. And then I finally posted stuff on Poshmark this weekend. So if you want to go follow me on Poshmark and see what I have for sale, there are some things that I am getting rid of on there. So that is what's literally taking over my studio right now. Ooh, this is perfect. So are any of you like fashion magazine people? I am a huge like tactile person. So I love to like feel things and flip through things and see things. So I always get subscriptions to different magazines for my classroom every year. And so it's always kind of nice. Again, I don't really read the fashion magazines. I just look at the pictures and look at like the styles and what's in and what they're forecasting. So I think that's definitely what got me into fashion growing up in high school, is all like the fashion magazines. Someone gave me like 2 In Style magazines, and I literally looked through them for an entire year. The My Body model to make a croquis or to make a mannequin. I feel like I've heard of My Body model. I have never used it though. So my favorite subscriptions for magazines, In Style is like my favorite, and I feel like it's the one that one and Vogue focus the most on fashion. Like the ones I have right now in front of me are Elle and Harper's Bazaar, and those tend to be a little bit more culture mixed in with fashion, so you get way less fashion. But those are also the ones that I was able to get like cheap 1-year subscriptions for, because I don't like pay full price for my subscription since I'm just using it in the classroom. Yeah, Pinterest is awesome. I need to get back into doing a Pinterest. Ooh, the Vogue runway collections. Are those the ones where it's all the pictures from the runways? I think I bought the one last year for like Paris Fashion Week. It was like pretty expensive, but it had pictures from all the collections and it was amazing. So I actually you're making me want to like go to Barnes & Nobles and find that new one for this next season. I was heard about Net-a-Porter. Net-a-Porter is an awesome resource for fashion as well. I love that you still have your magazines from the 80s. I don't have my magazines from years ago, except for I used to get all the Anthropologie magazines because I loved the photo shoots that they did, and I have all of those from high school. And I also have pages from old magazines and newspapers in a binder over there. Because in high school, I would always pull through any magazines I got, which wasn't a lot. And I would also look through, there was always a fashion section in our newspaper. And I would collect all of them because they would talk about the trends. And so I have like literally all those still. Yeah, that's right. The Vogue runway ones are like $35, but they do have everything. I need to go find my other one. I don't know where that one is. I think it might be at school. So now I want to go get the one for the new fall winter styles. Because yeah, I'm always wanting to see like what's out there. Not that I'm going to go buy it, but I want to see what I can make. Ooh, French knitting magazine. That's amazing. Yeah. What is interesting is that literally all the fashions are coming back around. So if you have kept things for a while, they're probably back in fashion. Yes, I did renovate my work area. This is my garage. Hence why there's a boat behind me. Because our garage is also storage for other things. And I can't get rid of the boat because there's nowhere else for it to go. So it's just my wall hanging. Otherwise, this wall would look way better. But yeah, this is my sewing area. So it's like where I store everything. And then on the other side of the back side of my laptop is the other part of my studio, which I redid last year during quarantine. And I filmed a video all about that process. So if you want to see my interior design pursuits, that video is on my lifestyle and how to. And so that's where I take a lot of pictures. So the reveal for today's video was filmed in that area. It's storage for things. Yeah, it's super cute. It's kind of like a little office. But yeah, I basically took over our garage. My room is also built into our garage. So basically the entire garage has all my stuff now. Okay, that magazine literally had nothing. Oh yeah, you saw the video of the remodel. Yeah, that one was super fun. Honestly, I love interior design things. I have nothing to like new to renovate right now. Like I helped my parents renovate and kind of redesign our house last year a little bit. It's way more fun when it's your own projects though. So I cannot wait till I have a house one day because there's going to be so many fun projects to do and to make. So I'm very excited for that. Yeah, it is a kayak. It's super random. I think I only mention it and talk about the boat in like one of my very first videos. So for like new people who are watching my newer videos, they're probably like, what the heck is that? You know, it's not a piece of modern art. It's literally just a kayak because I am in the garage and there's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, super random. So that's one of the very unique and interesting random things about my studio, and also really just describes like the randomness that is my life. I realized all the other, I was wanting to do a really cool Valentine's Day dress. That didn't happen. But I might still make the dress some other time. I also have this really awesome sequiny fabric that I was wanting to do a New Year's dress for, but that didn't happen either. So, like I said, there's all these ideas for projects that one day we will eventually get to all of them. It is kind of distracting. I probably need to like make more disclaimers about, yes, that's a boat behind me, so that people aren't just like sitting there wondering about it the whole time. We cannot count on the weather. So true. Yep, love sewing in the kitchen. It's the one bad thing about being in my garage, it's either too hot or too cold. So in the summertime, you're just dying of heat stroke because in Texas, it's like 90 degrees outside. So the garage is basically that same heat, and we don't have air conditioning in the garage. So I just have a fan. So it's very, very hot in the summertime. In the wintertime, I have a space heater, but again, it's not like local air and heat. So it's super cold. So this entire week I haven't been able to sew because the garage has literally been 30 degrees. So yeah, tonight it's not too bad. So I can actually like sew in it now. But yeah, that's the one downside to working in the garage. Otherwise, I will like sew in my room sometimes, or I use the living room floor to cut things out. If I'm working with like a lot of fabric, I always need like more space. So my goal one day is to have, whenever I have like a house, is to have like an entire sewing room, and it's gonna be awesome. But thankfully, I have my studio, which is really, really great. So I'm fortunate to have that. All right, so I think we're gonna wrap up. Does my dressmaking dummy help me a lot? Yes. It depends if your size is close enough to a dress form, but I love them, especially if you want to get into draping. There's pattern making and there's draping. I love draping a lot in addition to pattern making. So a dress form is so helpful when you're draping because literally it like does everything for you. And I also just like to have it to like fit things if I don't want to fit it on myself. So yeah, getting a professional one was definitely a game changer. And I have two different sizes. I have an 8 and a 6. So I really love them. So if you're in the market for one, I have a 10% discount code for Mannequin Mall because they're the ones who provided my dress forms. So that's linked in the bottom of most of my sewing videos. But I know it's in today's newest video. All a one floor sewing studio. That sounds amazing. I love that. Yeah. So I don't have the patience to sew by hand, which is why I think I love to sew on the machine. This year, though, my students who are online students at home have to make things by hand, and they've gotten really good at it. And I have some students who prefer to sew by hand, so props to them. So yeah, that is nice that if you sew by hand, you literally can sew anywhere. I did not think about that. That is super helpful. If any of you are into like costume making, a lot of like historical costumers strictly sew everything by hand to be historically accurate, and it's amazing. Like American Duchess, their 1800s like dressmaking book, and a lot of their videos and directions and stuff, everything is done by hand. And there's a couple people I follow on TikTok who sew costumes by hand because it's all historically accurate. So like corsets by hand. Yeah, Bernadette Banner, she uses a really old sewing machine, but she does most things by hand if the time period calls for it, and it's just like so soothing to watch her, and I'm so enthralled that about her skills by hand. So yeah, if you have any last minute questions, feel free to ask them. But I think we're gonna wrap it up. This was my first time doing a live and it was super fun. So maybe we'll get into the habit of doing this like once a month, and just checking in, talking and chatting, to build more of a community. Cause like I said, YouTube feels so big sometimes. And that's why I love Instagram, because I feel like it's very small and I'm able to like get to know people on there. And YouTube is still so new to me and so big. So I want to definitely create and build that community, because there are so many creative and talented people on YouTube. So it's really cool to all get together and swap ideas. So this was super fun. Thank y'all for joining me. It seriously means the world that you took time out of your, what's today? Saturday, your Saturday night, to watch. Thanks for y'all's questions too. And I'm definitely going to go look at all of these YouTube channels, and start following them and check them out. So thank you all so much. I will definitely give y'all a heads up on the next live and announce it like way more ahead of time so you can put it on your calendar. Goodbye, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and stay tuned for more videos. Bye, everybody.